Welcome to the podcast. I'm William,
And I'm Kat,
and that makes this Info on the Go.
answering questions you want to know.
So, Kat, have you ever heard of bronze or ceramic baby shoes?
Not until we were looking into this.
Yeah, it was a thing when I was coming up. I know that my baby shoes were bronzed, and I know friends that have theirs. But after talking to some younger people, it was like, what? I've never heard of this. So anyway, imagine a tiny pair of baby shoes, right? They're scuffed, they're soft, they're worn uh, f- from your child's first steps, maybe. Now imagine that you could freeze them forever in bronze and then maybe set them on the mantle, bookshelf, or but honestly and truly, why would anyone want to do that, right?
Right. Well, bronze baby shoes might seem like a relic of the past, but for much of the 20th century, they were the sentimental keepsake, as common as baby photos or birth certificates. Families immortalized their child's first steps in metal.
Yeah, so think about it. I mean, for me, it's nostalgia. It brings back memories like when I see those bronze baby shoes or those ceramic baby shoes. But in this episode, we're going to talk about how chemistry labs turn living rooms into some surprising stories of, bronze baby shoes.
So how did this even start? Well, the idea of preserving everyday objects in metal dates back to the Victorian era, with electroplating and metallization were new scientific wonders.
Yeah, so earlier tinkers, and inventors, they experimented with coating leaves, insects, and flowers in metal. They were fascinated by the idea of turning fragile life into something more permanent, something that would last decades.
Right, and these curiosities were often displayed in parlors and scientific exhibitions, symbolizing the merging of nature, art, and technology.
The practice gradually evolved into sentimental preservation, where people wanted to keep not just beautiful objects, but personal ones.
By the early 1900s, a few craftsmen began coating keepsakes like baby rattles, lockets, and shoes using home electroplating kits.
So, electroplating was the process of coating objects with metal through electric current. And this was already used in jewelry, silverware, and automotive parts.
When photography was still expensive and film undeveloped, bronzing offered a physical, tactile memory and a way to hold on to time, quite literally.
So, the 1920s and 1930s were decades of innovation and sentimentalism, where people were embracing modern chemistry while still craving old-fashioned tokens of love.
Right. And families wanted keepsakes that represented progress, modern science preserving old-fashioned sentiment.
So we need to be clear. They weren't just bronzing, they were bronzing pretty much anything at this particular stage. Yeah, anything. But bronzing, it captured that perfectly new technology, making memories, well, immortal because it would last centuries, right?
Right. And the first true commercial bronzing business is widely credited to Violet Shinbach, the founder of American Bronzing Company in Cincinnati, Ohio, around 1934.
I just want to say you nailed Schimbach's name. I had to look that up, by the way.
Really?
Yes, I I could not get wrap my head around it when I saw it come through on a pronounce. I was like, oh, well, that makes sense.
I was thinking
Anyway,
Bach like the pianist,
yeah, that's
composer, I guess.
but just for the listeners, it's spelled Shinbach, and it is Schimbach. Schimbach was a young mother and an entrepreneur, which was a rarity for young women in that particular time era. And she experimented with bronzing her daughter's baby shoes.
Friends admired them, asked for their own, and soon word spread beyond her community.
She realized that she had tapped into something a little deeper than novelty. She created a market for sentimental science.
Shinbach's company refined a reliable, repeatable electroplating process, ensuring shoes wouldn't crack or distort.
Yeah, and her company quickly grew, advertising nationwide through catalogs and magazines, promising that you can hold on to the first steps your child took forever.
And Cincinnati was an ideal hub. The city had strong background in metalworking and manufacturing, providing access to materials and skilled labor.
So during the Great Depression, families they had fewer luxuries, but a small keepsake felt, worth saving for, giving emotional comfort, amid all that uncertainty during the Great Depression.
And by the late 1930s, American Bronzing was filling thousands of orders a month, shipping bronze shoes across the country.
Yeah, and the company's success inspired competitors, names like Bronze Craft Company, Everlasting Bronze, and Keepsake Metalworks. They all emerged through the 40s and 50s.
So, what began as one mother's personal memento became a nationwide tradition passed down from one generation of parents to the next.
But how does bronzing really work? So the bronzing process was based on electrochemical deposition, and it's the same principle used to plate metal jewelry or car parts.
And so, step one, the baby shoe was cleaned and stiffened to retain its shape, often filled with plaster, cotton, or wax to prevent claps.
And then, then the next step would be to con conductive coating. And this often was a graphite or silver-based paint. And this was applied to make the leather or fabric carry an electric charge.
The shoe was then submerged in a copper sulfate or bronze solution connected to a power source.
And so the electric current would cause the metal ions to migrate and cling evenly to the shoe's surface, forming a thin metallic shell.
The item was then removed, polished, lacquered, and sealed, creating a gleaming, durable finish.
Over time, the bronze would develop a warm patina, deepening its nostalgia look.
Clients would choose different finishes, bronze, silver, or gold plating, depending on budget or preference.
And each pair was typically mounted on a wooden or marble base, sometimes with a brass nameplate engraved with the child's name and date of the first steps, and sometimes it would have like a little frame in the back where you could put the baby picture.
Some things were even made into bookends or lamps, blending sentimentality with home decor.
But here's the thing, no two bronzed shoes ever look the same. Each retained the child's unique creases, wear patterns, and even stitching marks.
And to many parents, that individuality made the piece priceless, a one of a kind sculpture of childhood.
And I know we're going to talk about it, but could you imagine all those steps in a do-it-yourself kit?
No.
Yeah, yeah. We're going to do a whole dash after this one, but on do-it-yourself bronze kits. But anyway, just to kind of clarify things. Shinbach founded the American Bronzing Company in Cincinnati in 1934, turning her personal experiment into a national business at a time when few women owned or even ran a company.
So the business remained family operated for more than 8 decades, with Shinbach's descendants managing operations until its closure in 2018, an extraordinary run that spanned 4 generations.
That is extraordinary. We're trying to put it in perspective. Like in the 1930s, women entrepreneurs were exponentially rare in manufacturing and industrial trades. Most women in business were confined to retail or domestic services. Schimbach entered the male-dominated world of metal finishing and chemistry.
So her success reflected a uniquely feminine innovation, blending the technical rigor of electroplating with the emotional sensitivity of motherhood. She turned a scientific process into an art form of remembrance.
Yeah, so founding the company during the Great Depression showed courage and ingenuity. While many businesses were failing, Schimbach's model thrived because it sold comfort, memory, and meaning, and it was affordable luxuries for struggling families.
She understood her audience, knew mothers, and the positioned bronzing as both modern and maternal, and her ad spoke directly to emotion, promising to hold on to the first steps forever.
In retrospect, her story mirrors a broader cultural shift. Women asserting independence and creativity within domestic life. She worked to bridge the private sphere of motherhood and the public world of commerce.
Right. Though she rarely sought the spotlight, Violet's company would bronze over 14 million pairs of shoes before closing, leaving behind both a cultural icon and a testament to women's entrepreneurship long before it was widely recognized.
14 million pairs of shoes.
That's crazy.
That's 28 million shoes if you're counting.
Right.
I don't know, unless somebody lost one.
It happens.
Yeah. Can you just bronze this one shoe? Her innovation outlived her lifetime by nearly a century. And it was proof that one woman's sentimental idea could become a defining symbol of American family life and, have that art appeal for, of holding on to those sentimental values.
Hmm. People did this for emotional reasons, really. I mean, parents know that those baby years vanish almost overnight, and a bronze shoe was a way to capture emotion made permanent.
Yeah, think about this. Before the rise of affordable photography and home video, there were fewer ways to preserve the physical trace of your child's growth.
And a pair of worn baby shoes told a story of, the first steps, the tiny scuffs, the way the toes bent outward from wobbly balance, and each crease was a miniature biography.
And many mothers, they would describe the act of bronzing as preserving innocence in metal. The transformation of something fragile, sentimental objects into something that was eternal.
Right, and it symbolized the transition from infancy to independence, the moment when a child literally stands on their own.
Yeah, so the bronze shoe wasn't really just about a decoration. It was about love. It really was a love letter in metal, right? It was a reminder of nurturing, patience, and care of that child's first steps that you could cherish, that you could actually pass down for that child to cherish, and maybe their grandkids too. I don't know.
Right. So, for many families, it also carried a deeper protective symbolism. Shoes have long been seen as protective objects across cultures. Encasing them in bronze was a charm against forgetting or loss.
In some households, parents believed that the shoes anchored the child's spirit to home, a superstitious echo of older European customs where baby shoes were saved to ward off misfortune. I did not know that.
That's pretty neat, though.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
I didn't know that was a custom in European cultures. Customs, I mean.
Right. But the physical weight of bronze made the keepsake feel substantial, enduring, and worthy of display, unlike paper photos that could fade or tear.
Yeah, because bronze is pretty heavy.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever picked up one of those little plaques with those bronze baby shoes, but yeah.
They are pretty solid.
So, especially in times of hardship, the Great Depression, wartime, separations, bronze shoes served as comforting relics, a small monument to life continuing. You gotta put this in perspective of the time too.
Right. I mean, you didn't have your pictures everywhere
No,
at all.
uh,
I mean, pictures were expensive.
very.
So I wonder, I bet the bronze thing was a little cheaper, maybe, I guess, depending if it was bronze, gold, or silver.
Yeah. And how you would have it done too. Like you could just have the shoes put on a wooden plaque and then dipped in bronze. I guess it would really depend, to your point, bronze, silver, or gold, and how you would have it done. Like what kind of placard you would want to put those shoes on.
Right. You know, but the practice reached its cultural peak in post World War II America when family and home life were celebrated as a cornerstone of prosperity.
And we all know what happened in the 1950s, the baby boom. And it brought more children into the American households than ever before. And with them, a surge in family focused traditions.
Suburban living created a new class of homeowners eager to decorate their spaces with personal symbols of stability and success.
And what better way to do that than a pair of bronze baby shoes, right? They would fit perfectly on your mantles, coffee tables, sideboards, curio cabinets, along with those wedding photos, diplomas. it was a piece of art that, couldn't be replicated.
Right. And they represented the idealized version of post-war domestic life. So proud parents, healthy children, and sentimental milestones marked in polished metal.
So popular magazines and catalog ads during this time, they reinforced this image, showing glowing mothers holding bronze shoes beside smiling babies.
This trend paralleled a broader cult of memory that defined mid-century America. Scrapbooks, shadow boxes, and home photo albums were all the rage.
Hey, did we say that the babies had to be out of the shoes before they were bronzed?
I think that would probably be the safest bet.
So these shoes also reflected technological optimism, a belief that modern industry and chemistry could preserve the emotional, not just the mechanical.
Right, and in many ways, bronzing became a fusion of heart and hardware, the industrial age meeting the sentimental heart of parenthood.
Throughout history, humans have struggled with the same truth. Time erases, right? From ancient civilizations to modern homes, we fought hard to keep traces of what we love.
Egyptians preserved bodies in tombs, Victorians kept locks of hair or photographs of the deceased, and bronze shoes were simply that 20th century version, that timeless impulse.
Yeah, psychologists describe this as a material memory when emotional experiences are anchored to physical objects tre treasure that trigger nostalgia and attachment.
Yeah, and the process of bronzing transformed something ephemeral, like a baby's tiny worn shoe, into a permanent artifact, giving parents control over what time could not destroy.
Yeah, it also served as a tangible proof of care, evidence of good parenting, or noticing milestones worth celebrating. I could see some mothers going, "Oh, but I bronzed the baby shoes," and that's like, a symbol of being a good father or a good mother. I could see that.
Right. On a subconscious level, though, bronzing helped ease the anxiety of change, that bittersweet awareness that child's first steps are both a beginning and a goodbye to babyhood.
Oh, yeah.
It's so sad, isn't it?
Yeah, especially looking back, I, as a parent, my kids are pretty much grown. But as a parent, you look back and you think, oh man, I wish I'd have done this a little differently. But time is one of those things you can't get back. Well, for now, we can't get it back.
Right. And hindsight's always 2020.
Absolutely. Um, so the act of preservation itself carried emotional relief. Parents could feel that they were holding on to something irreplaceable in a world that was starting to kind of move too quickly.
In that way, bronze shoes were less about vanity and more about emotional permanence, a defense against loss and forgetfulness.
Yeah, even today, when we preserve baby handprints in clay or save digital ultrasounds, we're echoing the same human instinct to make love visible, solid, and enduring, something tangible.
Yeah,
But let's get into the business of that memory. What do you think?
absolutely. It really became a booming market by the 1950s and 60s. Bronzed baby shoes had become a household phenomenon, not a rare custom, but an expected keepsake for new parents.
Yeah, the bronzing business thrived during the baby boom era when families were larger and the celebration of childhood was more central to post-war life.
So, what began as one small operation in Cincinnati grew into a nationwide cottage industry with dozens of local workshops and mail order companies offering the service.
Mail order companies. You don't, I guess now it'll be like online companies.
Yeah,
So regional artists advertised in newspapers, department stores, and maternity shops, and they offered bronzing as a part of new baby. Hey, you're having a baby. You can get this as a baby shower gift.
right.
Just clip this coupon out of this mail order catalog.
Right. Send this back.
Yeah. We'll order you a do-it-yourself kit. What do you think?
Right. Popular women's magazines like Ladies' Home Journal, Good Housekeeping, and Better Homes and Gardens featured glossy full-page ads calling bronze shoes the perfect keepsake for the modern mother.
Mm. Companies cleverly position bronzing as both sentimental and stylish, appealing to mothers' emotions and fathers' sense of craftsmanship.
Slogans promised forever memories, hold time still, and keep the first steps for all time.
And then those mail order kits we were talking about, it made it possible for anyone. And we're talking about rural America now. Um, so these families could send the shoes from anywhere in the US, and the company would bronze them and ship them back in just a few weeks.
Brochures often included miniature metal color swatches, allowing customers to choose their finish: classic bronze, bright copper, silver plate, or even gold toned brass.
I would love to get my hands on one of those color spot those
Swatches.
yeah, some of those kits are like collectibles now.
Right.
Oh, we're going to talk about it, but anyway. So the American Bronzing Company alone handled hundreds of thousands of orders per year by the late 1950s.
And other companies sprang up with niche twists. Some offered baby shoe clocks, where a bronze shoe was mounted alongside a working timepiece, symbolizing the moment of the first steps.
Oh, wow. That actually sounds kind of unique.
Hmm.
So the surge of demand turned bronzing into one of the mid-century America's most recognizable sentimental businesses, alongside portrait photography and custom name jewelry, all because of Miss Violet Shinbach.
So even high-end department stores like Sears, J.C. Penney, and Montgomery Ward offered bronzing services through mail-in catalog pages, turning the one bespoke art into a mainstream tradition.
Wow. Did you ever get the opportunity to look at the Sears catalog?
Mm, every so often, my grandparents would have one.
Yeah, that was how we would say what we wanted for Christmas. You would circle it on the catalog.
I was gonna say I do remember being handed catalogs and circling things.
Yeah. For many parents, ordering bronze shoes became a post-birth ritual, right along printing birth announcements or opening a savings account for their child. Uh, I remember those two. Hmm.
I remember having a really, really long Christmas list. Sorry.
I used to too, man. I used to like, but we would always be told, pick out the two things that you really want, and the other things you might get them.
Yeah, I hear you. I remember going, you can only pick one thing.
Yeah. Did you ever
Yeah.
have the dollar amount where you could, like, some people would give you money for Christmas and you would compile it and then you would go to the store, and my mom was pretty good about keeping me and my brother in line of you only have this amount to spend, but she would always kind of tip the scale a little bit.
Yeah, no, I didn't. That didn't happen until later, more after I became an adult.
I got you.
But anyway, as the trend grew, so did creativity. Families started bronzing far more than just shoes.
Yeah, they started bronzing baby rattles, pacifier chains, spoons, locks of hair, boxes, and even teething rings were sent in to be immortalized in metal.
Some companies offered first year collections, bronzing several baby items together and arranging them in shadow boxes or frame displays. Now that sounds kind of cool.
I was going to say that sounds very creative. Parents started looking for practicality, turned keepsakes into functional home decor. Bronze shoes turned into what? Bookends, paperweights, or lamp bases. Yeah, I've seen some as lamps.
I feel like I might have seen some in like some movies or something.
Yeah, I think I've seen some in movies, but I know that I've seen a lamp-based bronze baby plaque in one of my family members' aunts, uncles' homes. I can't
Hmm.
remember where though.
I don't know. In any case, bronze shoes were often gifted to grandparents, creating family heirlooms that would sit on mantles for generations.
Yeah, so the emotional appeal soon extended beyond infancy. A few customers sent in dance slippers, military boots, or sports cleats, transforming personal milestones into permanent, memorable items.
Yeah,
I guess if you won state or something or I guess if you were like a big track star or something, and I know the military getting out of boot camp, I know that within itself is a pretty big deal. So, yeah, I can see that.
right. I think that sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
But by the late 1960s, a few companies began offering pet paw bronzing for grieving pet owners, a service marketed as Forever Friends.
Wonder how that worked.
Hmm.
So, the diversification really showed that bronzing had transcended babyhood. It became a universal expression of attachment, memory, and loss.
Some customers even combined bronze baby shoes with adult keepsakes, such as wedding rings or christening spoons, and in one sculpted display, merging family histories into metal art.
I don't know about including wedding rings I don't
Uh,
know. So every item was a challenge. No two shoes reacted to the metal coating exactly the same way. And this really gave each piece that handcrafted uniqueness that machine-made products really lack. So I know you had the question about the cost of these shoes.
yeah,
So you want to do that?
absolutely. In the 1950s, the average cost of a pair of bronze baby shoes was $5 to $10, and that's roughly $60 to $100 in today's money, depending on size, finish, and mounting.
More elaborate mounts with engraved nameplates, velvet lined boxes, or marble bases, well, they could get a little more pricey, on up to $25, which would be equivalent to about 250 today, but really still within reach for many middle income families.
And because the process was labor intensive but scalable, bronzing became a rare mix of luxury and affordability.
Yeah, so working class families could save up for it, and doing it so carried emotional weight. So a small indulgence that symbolized love and aspiration.
Ads emphasize this balance, describing bronzing as affordable elegance and a lifetime investment of love.
Some companies allowed installment payments, making it easier for new parents with those tighter budgets to be able to afford these keepsakes.
And unlike fine jewelry or china, bronze shoes had deep emotional value, not just material worth. So families prized them more than almost anything else they owned.
And think about that, though, those bronze baby shoes are unique to that family.
Yeah.
So, because of that emotional um, premise, bronze baby shoes often became family heirlooms. They were passed down through generations, long after the trends and furniture styles, all of that would fade, right?
Right. And for many, they were the first personalized possession that child ever owned, and the one that lasted the longest.
Yeah, because I can't think of anything else that would last longer than a pair of bronze baby shoes. So the bronzing craze of the mid 20th century was more than a sentimental fad. It reflected the social heartbeat of post-war America.
And the United States in the 1940s through the 60s was a nation in transformation, moving from wartime austerity to the culture of abundance, consumerism, and domestic pride.
Families were buying their first homes, their first cars, their first televisions, and with them came that new emphasis on home presentation, you know, and that personal legacy that they wanted to leave behind.
Right. And the home became a showplace of success and stability. And every decoration carried meaning, proof of love, prosperity, and modern taste.
Bronze baby shoes fit seamlessly into this environment. They were shiny, sentimental, um, they were distinct to the middle class, and it really kind of helped stand out here.
Yeah, they stood proudly beside other markers of the perfect home: framed wedding portraits, fine china displayed in cabinets, silver baby cups, and frilly bassinet photos and embroidered samplers.
Yeah, this was an era when being a good parent wasn't just private, it was performed socially through the objects that they displayed in the home.
And the
Wow.
bronze and the bronze shoe was both a family artifact and a status symbol, tangible evidence of emotional investment and material stability.
It's present in the living room, silently communicated. We're a family that remembers, a family that has arrived. Sorry, I was trying to be like a commercial there.
Apparently, I need to get some bronze baby shoes.
Obviously, I'm doing it wrong too, so
In that way, bronzing mirrored the cultural obsession with domestic perfection, fueled by television shows like Father Knows Best and Leave It to Beaver, which idealized the suburban household.
you have no clue about either one of those, do you?
I know I've heard of Leave It to Beaver, but I don't know anything about Father Knows Best.
The warm metallic glow of these tiny shoes fit perfectly into this new domestic, aesthetic, polished, orderly, sentimental, yet proudly modern world. So, around the world, cultures have always found creative ways to preserve memories of early life, but each had its own way of symbols and materials.
So in Japan, the omiyamari ceremony marks a baby's first visit to the Shinto shrine, usually around 1 month after birth. And families dress the infant in white and offer prayers for health and protection, a spiritual form of preservation rather than a physical one.
Hmm. In Europe, families in Victorian England and France often kept baby curls or teeth in lockets, or made plaster casts of infants' hands and feet, which were also physical tokens of growth and transformation.
In many African communities, naming ceremonies are deeply rooted in ancestral connection, often involving symbolic items like beads, shells, or soil linking the child's life to their lineage and land.
In India, parents often preserve the first lock of a baby's hair from Mudan, which is the first haircut ceremony, or the navel cord after birth as a charm for longevity and protection. I think the lock of hair would be better.
Yeah.
I don't
You know,
know.
in my baby book still has my umbilical cord in it, so I have no room to judge.
I'm not judging. I'm just saying I think the lock of hair would be better
There's that too.
because it would be like, what is
There's
this?
the hair, the umbilical cord, the teeth. We got all of it. Okay.
Yeah.
And my mom still has my first baby shoe, which
Okay.
was
You could go have that first baby shoe bronzed.
she can bronze it. I'm sure she is capable. In any case, in some regions in Latin America, families keep tiny embroidered shoes or silver charms representing a child's first steps used in blessings or carried as tokens of luck.
These global traditions reveal a universal human impulse, the need to make the fleeting tangible, to give form to love and growth.
But the bronze baby shoes stood apart. It was uniquely American, merging industrial progress with emotional preservation, a keepsake born from factories, chemistry, and sentiment.
It was a memory turned modern, industrial nostalgia meets emotional tradition.
And the very idea using electric current and molten metal to immortalize innocence could only have emerged from a culture that believed technology could conquer even time itself.
Here's a little fact for you. No two bronze baby shoes are ever identical. The process captures every micro detail, creating a metal fingerprint of a child's first steps. We talked about the creases in the shoes, how they're all different, down to the shoe itself, right?
Right. And some families discovered that even decades later, their bronze shoes still showed the faint imprint of baby socks beneath the plating.
Hmm,
That's sweet.
that is. Before we get into the decline of of nostalgia here, so we take a small break.
Sounds good.
So now that we're back, we're going to talk about the decline of the bronzing baby shoes here. By the 1980s and 90s, bronzing baby shoes began to kind of fade from American homes. Families were now turning to photographs, camcorders, and later digital cameras. And this made it easier, faster, and less expensive ways to capture those memories forever. So the sentimental symbol that once sat proudly on mantels, bookshelves, they kind of started to look dated in the era of minimalism and modern decor.
Right. And the rise of plastic, resin, and digital design made old-fashioned bronze keepsakes feel heavy and old world. Parenting culture was also changing. Families were becoming more mobile, less tied to heirloom traditions, and by the 1990s, bronze shoes were often seen as nostalgic relics from grandparents' homes rather than modern symbols of love.
Wow, that's kind of heartbreaking too.
That is
I mean,
sad.
listening to you say it, I mean, it does sound very sad. So the bronzing process required specialized equipment and labor, making it costly compared to simple photography or printing. So as demand declined, many small plating companies either closed or switched to trophy and industrial metal coating. Um, so the service could kind of survive.
As much as it's gonna.
Yeah.
So in 2018, the American Bronzing Company in Cincinnati, the pioneer of the tradition, officially closed its doors after more than 8 decades in business. They had bronzed an estimated 14 million pairs of shoes since their opening in 1934. And when they announced their closure, new outlets and nostalgic parents alike described it as the end of an American ritual. Sad.
You know, I didn't even know the company or anything, but it feels like I just lost a friend in 2018.
Right. The company's archives, molds, and customer lists were carefully stored, marking the final chapter of a business that once defined a generation's sentimentality.
But what are some modern alternatives, you might ask? Well, bronzing faded. The impulse to preserve early childhood never really disappeared, right?
Today, parents turn to 3D printing, resin casting, clay molds, and even digital 3D scans of baby hands and feet.
Oh, those are kind of neat too.
Mhm.
You got those artisanal shops and small artists offer gold dipped or acrylic encased baby shoes, blending modern aesthetics with that old emotional roots.
Right. So families now preserve milestones through cloud albums, shadow boxes, or AI generated baby journals, but the intention remains timeless.
AI generated baby journals really don't sound appealing.
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
Yeah, I don't either. So the bronze baby shoes is more than a relic. It's a quiet symbol of how deeply humans resist the passage of time.
Each pair represents a universal struggle, the wish to stop change even for a moment.
Yeah, it's about holding on to the first steps to innocent, to the small heartbeat of a home before it grew quiet again. Kind of,
Right.
kind of keeping those baby steps alive forever.
Yeah. And parents weren't just preserving shoes, they were preserving a feeling. The soft weight of a child in their arms or the sound of tiny feet on the kitchen floor.
Those bronze baby shoes, they kind of hold a message, right? They say, "Don't forget this. Don't let this moment disappear."
You know, but there's always the deeper message. Memory, like technology, keeps evolving, but its purpose never changes. So, as we've talked about, it wasn't always bronze that people made their keepsakes out of. Some companies offered alternative finishes like silver, gold, pewter, or even antique copper, depending on taste and budget. Bronze was just the classic.
Pewter, I don't know about that one.
That's an awfully soft metal.
That is very soft. By the 1950s, Hollywood stars and even royalty had their children's shoes bronze. It became a fashion statement or a status symbol among the rich and famous.
Yeah. So the dual purposes too was parents didn't just display them. Many turned bronze shoes into bookends, lamp bases, or even door stops. Could you imagine that?
Like I could see my folks doing that because I don't think I'm good enough to put on the bookcase. Are you for real? You're gonna use it as doorstop?
No, my thing is like, what if you're wandering around in the middle of the night and you decide to just catch it with your pinky toe?
Oh my gosh, that hurts. I didn't even do it, but I'm thinking like if you have two brothers and one's on the bookcase with bookends and then yours is the doorstop, like how heartbroken, I mean, your
Tripping over your own feet.
like your family has no hope for you.
None at all. None at all.
Um, anyway, that's just a joke. So, Um, ads in magazines like Ladies' Home Journals and Good Housekeeping, Sears catalogs, whatever, they really encourage parents to mail their baby shoes directly to Cincinnati, where they could be bronzed and sent back with a plaque.
Yeah. And the same electroplating process used for bronzing baby shoes was also used in aerospace engineering and jewelry production. Toddlers' baby shoes were coated with space age tech.
Well, that's a little neat little factoid there.
Factoid.
And another little fact here, the American Bronzing Company reported processing up to 2,000 pairs of shoes a day. And each one of those shoes had to be hand prepped and polished. Wow. That's
That's a
four
lot of shoes.
that's 4,000 shoes a day. That's a lot of shoes.
It's an insane amount of shoes. But, by the late 1960s, craft stores sold home bronzing kits. So, though most results turned out lumpy or uneven, still the kits promised that any mother can bronze.
And check out our dash on that one. And in the 1970s, some families opted for colored metal finishes, like rose gold, green patina, or even white enamel, reflecting the era's decor trends. I don't know about that white enamel, which I guess that's what you call porcelain.
Hmm.
Okay,
Hmm.
all right, I see now. Okay.
Porcelain's also just like a crazy choice to pick. Bronze shoes often appeared in 1950s sitcoms and ads, symbolizing the perfect American home. They became shorthand for proud parenthood and pop culture.
That electroplating process produced chemical waste. As environmental standards tightened in the 1980s, regulations made small bronzing shops too costly to operate. And that really kind of helped with the decline as well.
Right. Well, sentimental value outweighs resale. Pristine pairs from the 1930s and 50s sometimes fetch $50 to $150 online, especially those with engraved plaques or original packaging.
So you're gonna sell your great grandfather's bronze baby shoes for 150 bucks. Times have to be hard.
Right. Right.
Some families secretly tuck notes or small charms inside these shoes before sending them to be bronzed. And those personal messages, well, they're sealed in metal forever. What a cliffhanger there.
Forever.
Nobody will ever get to read it now.
So maybe that's why a pair of bronze baby shoes still feel powerful. Because even after the child grows up and the parents are gone, that tiny sculpture remains, proof that something small once mattered deeply.
And if you have a pair of those bronze baby shoes, you might have a charm or a note stuck in the bottom, and you'll never get to read the note or know what the charm really was. You're welcome. That's pretty much all I've got.
Me too. If you would like to support this podcast, tell a friend and help get the word out.
If you would like to help us keep the show going, you can do so at Patreon. You can find the link in the show notes.
William and I want to thank you for listening, whether you're new here or have been here for a while.
Yes, thank you so much.
You can join the Facebook group and Info on the Go
Over there, you can share with us your show ideas.
or ask us a question.
Make sure you subscribe and follow us wherever you get your podcast,
Send us a text using the link in the show notes.
or leave a review. That helps others find us. You can also email us
Info on the Go podcast at gmail.com.
and you can find that link in the show notes. Till next time.
Stay curious.